that there's a lot of incredibly interesting storylines to be going around here, and it's just going to be the first matchup of the day. So, Upmind, I want you to take us away for this round here, because I feel like, honestly, RBG are going to be able to take this one, but I want to hear your thoughts, and I want to see you actually take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both sides, they have some sort of reason going into this game. Although, almost literally, it is round one. We're getting a couple of powerhouses here on the server, and here we go. It's already a very clean B take with a 3-man back over to A with the defensive side of Franco. And here comes the actual retake. It's going to be Penny alongside the Sage teammate covering up that angle. And, I mean, pure chaos off the bat, and they just force their way through over towards A. They take full B advantage, but they still rotate anyways. In comes Reggie, but instead it's Xander from behind, popping in from short, snagging down 2 more frags, and that's a big round for Penny and Xander. RBG Esports off to the lead.
Blink and you miss it, quite honestly. One of the faster rounds I feel like we're going to be seeing this entire game, just with Pistols immediately going for that B to A split. And you know, it worked to a pretty decent degree. Sure, they were bogged down a couple of numbers, but all in all, that was a really decent set piece. I think Rechi in particular had a big part in that, even though he just kind of fell, but obviously Penny was the one to really keep the eye on with that triple kill. Going to be actually investing, I think it was a Phantom that he picked up in this second round, so a lot of money invested into this one from RBG, and I think just because of that fact alone, it's going to be a bit mildly concerning if they start losing a couple of more players. But another quick push is going to be inbound. The attackers, they are not one to exactly hesitate, sit on their feet for all too long. And again, there it is, just a quick A push. They're up against Pistols, so it's hard to really get excited about this one here. It's just going to be a complete bloodbath over towards the A bomb site, with Mata getting his nice little frag clip in. And it's going to be 2-0 start. RBG off to a pretty fantastic start.
Great clean start. That's really what you expect from a team like this. And Pretty Boys, they haven't exactly been able to bounce back, but now here we go, able to get themselves almost full equipment in a sense. They have the firepower. Don't really know what their equipment issue is at the moment, what their situation is like. That shouldn't be all too bad. The real point of interest for me is going to be what is going to be the dynamic of this RBG Esports squad. This is their first tournament together here, Etoh.
It is, but I mean, these players do have a decent amount of chemistry. Again, we talked about that MDL core of Xander, Mata, and Penny, so, you know, you would have to hope that they at least kind of know what they're doing here, despite all of the potential question marks that we have about them, though. They don't seem to exactly be dealing with them very, very well. 2 kills immediately off the bat. 3 kills for Pretty Boys, in fact, and Whiffo as well as Strong Lips will combine to take down the entire team, quite honestly, walking into his crosshairs.
Yeah, man, going huge. Holding down that site, and really, it was just a stronghold coming in from Strong Legs and Whiffo, so, all right. A player who we haven't, I don't think we mentioned all too much, but we have ourselves a little bit of a boomer to the CS scene. It's our boy Strong Legs.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Hey man,
Legs
I have all
been around the block.
Right. I have all the respect for the world for this guy, because purely because he still has, same like us, he still has that talent side to him. He's still a talent, an on-screen talent for Counter-Strike, but in terms of Valorant, he's just fragging on the server.
Yeah, he definitely has lots of horizons he could potentially work off of here, and that's always a good sign, because, you know, building that career long-term. Right now, though, obviously in the server, and although his team just won a round and he was a really, really big part of it, I think this is going to be where their next challenge lies, because there's still a full investment in from the attackers, and they're going for another quick push. This is an incredibly dry push, and I don't like that whatsoever. Mata just gets punished, and there's absolutely zero response. The Cypher tries to get the trade through, but it's non-existent in the end. And here comes the push, the inevitable push in from RBG. They find 2 kills to their name. A third one as Tetra entries in with that Brimstone. And now just waiting for that spike to get planted. It is looking incredible for the attackers. A 2 versus 3 for the retake, and there's still Tetra. I mean, he has his Molotov. He has the orbital strike at the ready, but he's not going to be able to even use it. Reggie is going to go ahead and try to close up this wound that has just been completely opened up
1v1
from RBG Esports, and how has this gone down into what was a 1 versus 1 into a 1 versus 2? Xander throughout it all, however, is still staying alive, still kicking, and still going to be able to find that first, not quite the second just yet. That could have been his opportunity, but now he'll have to go ahead and bide his time a little bit more here. That spike is still being stuck, and Thweefo now has gotten it to the halfway point, probably just going to stick it at this point. What is the Cypher doing? He just gave it up. He's given up on it entirely. I don't understand.
Oh man, you would understand, right? Just the paranoia, just the mind games that Xander could be able to play. But I mean, you could see the intention. He was trying to get that. He was trying to get that wide rotation in, thinking that he had time. But simply, you don't. He just didn't have that time. And again, it's semantics at this point. We can't exactly read into the mind of Xander, but that's a lapse in judgment, to say the least.
I mean, maybe it's like a sound thing? I'm not sure exactly the read. I feel like there's so many safer ways it could have played that. It doesn't matter. Never mind. Let's just get back into this again. There's pistols, and they've somehow found 2 kills. Then there's a zoning Hunter's Fury coming through, and somehow going to find kills. Are these pistols? Are we sure these aren't rifles that these hackers are with right now? It doesn't feel like it, man. It doesn't feel like it at all. They're absolutely crushing it.
Oh man, and now
words.
Pretty Boyz left in the back line. So after, I mean, really 2 straight interesting rounds in a sense, a wicked series of events here in the server. But you know, at least now things calm down a little. Pretty Boyz, they have to readjust. Things like, you know, it seems like they got a little bit too spicy over the long, but I don't even think it was that. I mean, they had a pretty solid hold. They had the crossfire going. They really had the trades going out towards long, but that's not really the name of the game. They wanted to, you know, at least hold on back, because you're never going to expect a full rush from an attacker's side like that. But, I mean, RBG, they had nothing to lose that round. They only had upgraded pistols and very minimal equipment, and they made it all work out in their favor. They used up 2 ults in that round, and yet they still have 2 incredibly important ones. Mata can open up a site with this Phoenix ult, and then right behind him, that orbital strike in Tetra.
I mean, I think speaking of Tetra, he was absolutely fundamental to making that round actually work out for RBG. You know, that quick pace, it's still, you know, we're only 5 rounds into it, but I've seen a lot of fantastic entries coming out from him, and on that Brimstone as well. You know, usually not the person I associate with getting those entry frags, usually be like a Phoenix or, you know, some other duelist, but no, he's been there in the front lines. He got that first Sheriff headshot, and really from there, the path was carved for RBG to go ahead and pick up number 3. Now, another awkward scenario for the Pretty Boyz to be in at the moment, as they have to go ahead and try to peel off, take care of that Phoenix ult. They've dealt with him incredibly well, I have to say. Just got rid of his armor, got rid of that ultimate. That is a fantastic start, all things considered, even though it's not that big number that they're looking for just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but also that Phoenix, he was, you know, pretty much discombobulated here, etoh. You can find literally a single pixel on his screen where he could have aimed at, so it was just shut down early. Good stuff from the Pretty Boyz again, just off the information battle. But speaking of information, they have the tripwire, they have the Cypher holding down this site, and it's going to be a crossfire. Almighty Hunter in the back lines, still trying to find that kill. You still have Thwiftbo trading on back. Almighty Hunter with a big round. 2 kills for him thus far, but it's going to be the retake from Pure. And he comes, the CS player. Going absolutely nuts, getting the last 2 kills. And I mean, Pure, he doesn't have, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't have any official Valorant creds to him, but he's still fragging out. And not only that, but he literally has a CSGO championship match come tomorrow. A multifaceted talent here, etoh.
Most definitely, and you're seeing that talent come out right there. You know, quite literally, I feel like I've said this a couple of times now, but just pressing W. Aggression has been the name of the game so far for really both of these teams, and it's done them their due diligence. The eco isn't half bad for either team at the moment. This is going to be a breaking point when it comes to really who's going to be able to get away with an early lead here. Still all evened up in this best of 1. Looking for that first to 13. But till then, we're going to have a little bit of silence, a little bit of chaos perhaps before then. Pierre will find first blood here, and despite the darts coming out here, RBG are going to be able to respond, and they're doing a fantastic job at it. Are they? Strong Legs has actually managed to completely hold off the line for now. Everybody on Pretty Boyz, it seems like, is getting their just desserts. But I was going to say, RBG, their mid-round call was decent enough to go ahead and try to fake that out over towards A. I'm not a fan of that wide swing from Xander, but it seems that it's worked out for him nonetheless. It's a very strange round from RBG, but this is actually very, very winnable from Xander, all things considered.
Yeah, 1v2, he's going to have the opening now, but a great double peek. Boyfo and Strong Legs glued together there for the trade. Strong Legs, good reaction, and that's really just fundamental tactical FPS play. Just trying to trade out with some of your teammates, and that's been a dynamic that's been almost, you know, it's starting to get waning a little bit in Valorant, as, you know, trades haven't been exactly all too prevalent. It almost seems like some plays, they can be overly selfish nowadays. I think that's that might just be a me thing, but I think
I see it.
You know, at least seeing that dynamic coming back with Strong Legs, it gives me some hope. Shoutouts to Roy.
Again, the boomer, right? Nah, it definitely inspires a little bit of confidence. You know, a really decent set piece there. Just, I think a lot of cases it can be kind of tough to really get some of those swings to actually work out, since you can be sprayed down so easily, it feels like, in this game compared to CS. You know, I mean, highlight plays seem to happen with such an insane frequency, and, you know, quite honestly, I'm surprised we didn't see one right there. But, you know, despite it all, RBG, they will be knocked down another peg. Just really solid play from the Pretty Boyz. Ends up being the formula that works. You know, it's exactly what the doctor ordered. And from here, RBG, as I mentioned, although they got that spike down +4 players, this is still a very worrying round for them here, but they're just going to completely rid all of my worries in just a couple of seconds. They found 2 players on the entry. Strong Leg still holding behind the site, however, is going to have a horse in this race, but not for long. Unfortunately, that horse has been put down, and so has Pure Redfish. He gets one with the knives, but that's all he's going to be able to find, as it's down to Thweefo in a 1-on-3. It's looking like it's going to be another even scoreline on our hands. Upmind. Wait. Oh my god. Why are they rotate? This is such a flex.
What? That absolutely is a 1v3. They just back on out, and easily Boyfo could have used a lot of his equipment already. I mean, he used the majority of it over towards C. He doesn't have a singular point of entry. He does have a couple of dead bodies to actually, you know, try to potentially get that ult running, but he's just gonna run on away. That's his best option. It's a 1v3. And again, etoh, it's been entertaining, some of these clutches at least, but again, just good clean takes from RBG thus far. That's what you like to see. And I mean, not only that, but really the openings that they were able to get on that A site, a little bit isolated, considering the fact that they actually had the right rotation going. It was a full 3-man rotation from the Pretty Boyz before RBG could even take that site.
I've noticed as well that RBG, it feels like they're definitely more comfortable going for these early pushes over towards A. You know, we haven't really seen a full-on default from them. C control, you know, I think there's maybe one round where we saw it early on, but all in all, they've had a ton of success getting early picks over towards A long, where I don't feel like they need to kind of switch anything up as a result. But you know, there's still time for them to switch things up here. We're in the final 4 rounds of the half here. We're at that halfway mark. Well, past that halfway mark now, obviously. But honestly, from here, you're going to be starting to see that default that I just mentioned come into fruition. RBG is kind of spreading their players pretty much everywhere except A, which is interesting. Seem to be piling up towards Garage right now. One of the slower rounds it feels like we've seen all game.
That's good. I mean, you mentioned that we haven't seen a default just yet from RBG, but this doesn't seem like a default by any means. It's really just them being patient, just switching up the tempo. And I mean, we saw this take already just off of the pistol round, but I don't really know whose orbital strike that was, but if I'm not mistaken, that was from the enemy team, and that really didn't do much. RBG already on the rotation. They have the C site for themselves, and they find themselves in a beautiful position, in a very comfortable position for the rest of the round. Bomb down on C, and it's a 5-on-2.
This is so rough from Pretty Boys. They had a lot of good things going with trying to take that mid-round garage control, but, you know, Stronglegs is playing close. That's not bad whatsoever, but then there's a player in window who's playing passive, not being able there to contact. You see how the Brimstone, his body isn't even around the window area, and because of that, Stronglegs was able to get isolated through that Phoenix flashbang. He was taken out, and there's no response at all from Pretty Boys. I mean, what could have been, in theory, 4 versus 3, it turns out that it's just going to be even worse for the side of Pretty Boys, as they will give up that 5th round to RBG, but that's also going to be a really big sign for them to, hey, maybe we need to switch up our defender setup a bit, because 0 response over towards garage like that is not at all how you're going to be able to get your rounds. And quite honestly, thinking about it, Pretty Boys, how they've gotten their rounds so far are these really strong setups. But I guess that it goes for the most part for the defender's side, but really it's a big thing that I've noticed from Pretty Boys.
But again, I mean, Pretty Boys, I don't know. They've been getting a little bit bamboozled in the past couple of rounds in terms of actual takes. I don't know. I'm just interested to see really what sort of dynamic Pretty Boys they actually want to play between these sites, because it's mainly been just instinctual rotations catching them off little by little, but it's also these early interactions. An isolated 1v1 duel. Yes, Anderson was there to try to get the trade, but as soon as they come back, they don't have a singular person watching over to garage. That's just going to be Mata sweeping up 2 perfect kills for himself. And now, once again, it feels like deja vu, etoh. 2-on-5. They have control of C site. And this time, it's actually a lot easier. Only a singular player remaining for the Pretty Boys. It's Thwifo still laying around the back. Don't really expect him to actually make this execute. At most, at most, some isolated frags for the exits. But Retchy wide swinging on in denies that chance for the Pretty Boys. And, oh yeah, this one's going to be an eco. Pretty Boys, they have to save for that last round.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. Like, it's just the exact same thing that I was mentioning. They even have 3 players dedicated to try to take long B control, or long C control, excuse me. But as soon as Stronglegs went down, it feels like the Pretty Boys were a bit afraid to commit to that. Again, you saw that initial peek. I believe it was from, I think it was Anderson, who took a dink, but just from there fell off the angle. But really, it just seems so uncoordinated. Pretty Boys, obviously going to be losing out on yet another round, but quite honestly, this could be an 8-4 half, and I wouldn't even be relatively surprised at this point. It's almost certainly going to be that 4-7 scoreline, as they're stuck on pretty much the bare minimum. And Christ, even some of the best hopes that you had to making this round work, they've just been taken down in the form of that judge on Sage, rather. Just quite a terrible situation for Pretty Boys being, quite honestly, and there's nothing that they can exactly do against it.
Yeah, I mean, at least in this round, it's that hope is dead and gone. And again, this is that detrimental best-of-1 format that really some of these teams can't exactly catch up with just a singular map to go off of. That sounds like a forehead statement for me to say, but teams like Pretty Boys, I would like to see them in like a full BO3, put them in a map that they're really comfortable with, not one that RBG would most likely just pick and ban out of. I mean, just in Valorant alone, we really don't know what we don't really know what maps people are super comfortable with, but I think you mentioned why that take was even made. A little bit of equipment being used and a little bit of a cheeky lurk over to A. That's actually going to attract what is the instinctual Pretty Boys team thus far, dragging them out of that position over to A, but it's a B take, and yeah, a little bit unfortunate over to long though.
Yeah, just that second duel didn't go his way, but I could see the first one just kind of being a bait, so that way they buy a little bit of time to bring it out over towards B. The second one, yeah, not really a big excuse for that, no exact reason why that happened, but at least the attackers will be able to clean up from there. Losing 2 unfortunate duels doesn't exactly matter when the rest of your team is able to clean up no problem, you know? And plus 4 ultimates heading into this last round. I don't know, Upmind. This is looking a lot like 8 rounds for RBG.
It's a way better setup for the Pretty Boys this round, however. Double up setup. At least on this map.
Something that you've been seeing.
That's common on this map, and I'm actually excited to see how they're going to utilize it, because Pure, he's going to try to go into Garage with his op. Immediate peek, but he misses his opportunity. But here we go. You have Anderson taking back Tetra. Mata, he uses up that ulti. He's already used it in this position before. Already gets taken down. So that ulti is gone. But Pure is still getting pressured. 2 different ults from Pure. Strong Legs still picks up Anderson, so now it's going to be a 4-on-5. This is pure chaos. Strong Legs still with another frag. This B site still in the back. It's Strong Legs. Strong Legs, are you kidding me? Going absolutely nuts. Getting himself the 3rd frag. There's still 2 players remaining for this attacking side. And Strong Legs, if he hasn't been heroic before, he has to do it again with Thwippo. It's a 2-on-1. Oh no, but Tetra going nuts. Going right on through the wall. A 1-on-1 with a spike dropped in the corner.
Got the spike.
And there's still 45 seconds left. It seems like it's been a full 2 minutes for the round, but all that action happening within the span of like 40 seconds, 30 seconds.
Oh my lord, Strong Legs. No, this man has a strong back. He has put his team on his back right there. And despite all of his heroics, it's still not good enough to find the round. The Fortnite Pro versus Fortnite Pro, when it comes down to the most important of opportunities, ends up going the way of Tetra, who collects that quad kill, makes it that inevitable 8-4 scoreline. And, well, I mean, I have to say, Pretty Boys are looking like the scoreboard right now. Awfully broken.
Work for now, my friend, but once again, it's that pistol round, it's that equalizer that Pretty Boys could potentially try to take back, and I don't really know if they're gonna have the cheese that RBG tried to pull off in the pistol round, and then the later rounds over towards that B site. I think it's gonna be a little bit more, I guess you could say, stereotypical, a little bit more normal for the Pretty Boys. They actually have a little bit of a mini default going on, some equipment being used from that Cypher incredibly early on. They have some long presence, playing the long game in a sense here, etoh.
I'm really liking how RBG, as soon as they saw that cyber cage go up from Thwippo, you see that they fall back immediately over towards the A bomb site. That means that Pretty Boys basically just get free space just based off of a single cyber cage, and they're going to use that newfound advantage to bring it out over towards C. It's a split, a very standard split at that, and it does seem to be working its magic perfectly. Pretty Boys just absolutely crushing the pistol so far. 3 kills without any response from RBG. Seems to be a running trend that whenever the attackers are doing well, I mean, they just make it look one-sided.
It's really just been the momentum game for these teams, man. It's, I don't know, it's kind of that common NA mentality. I mean, you win a round or 2, your team just starts screaming, "Let's go!" and they start pulling W onto some of these sides. It's like it sounds almost like semantics at this point, but it's almost exactly that. You gain that confidence, you gain that momentum back, you gain your swagger back in a sense, etoh. Because I think at this point, Pretty Boys, they've been without it this entire game, but now that they have a pretty crucial pistol round under their belts, their next big challenge is trying to evade what is an insane trap going on over towards that C site. It's a 4-man stack with a player laying over to Garage. If they try to take over that A site, it's optimal in a sense.
This is honestly pretty deadly. It looks like there's a small tactical/technical pause. Not exactly sure.
Right.
Pretty much the only way to tell at this point is see who isn't moving. But I mean, honestly, what do you think of this? Because I have some ideas on how this could work out for RBG. Obviously, everything that you do on a full save round like this is a gamble, but I'm not sure exactly what reason they have to go up C here. I think, hell, even an A push, I think, off the bat would be probably a good plan for them here. At least based off of that pistol where you saw Thwefo, I believe it was, drop down the cyber cage over towards a long, you know, I feel that's something that they could just maybe hide behind. I'm not even sure, like, what kind of information they're going off of to decide to bring it over towards C long. I mean, I like the idea, but I'm just kind of confused on where it comes from, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess in a round like this, it might be a little bit expected for RBG to force up a little, which, again, the Pretty Boys, if they do get caught off guard over the long again, it pretty much, if they do the exact same strategy that they did last round, the same exact split that they tried to pull in the last round, it'll be exponentially more successful in this one, purely because they'll have that avenue to go directly towards A. But yeah, I really don't see them putting, you know, all of their eggs into one basket in a sense.
I'm actually just curious on where the, you know, where the Cypher is actually playing at the moment. It looks like he's committed out over towards Garage. I'm just kind of, I'm guessing that maybe he's going to be putting down tripwires close to the door and then joining everybody else. Yeah, okay. He's just, wait, is he placing a cam? Okay, I'm actually really interested to see what he's doing early on. And then, based off of that, is he, no, he's falling back. I'm not sure what this is, but I kind of like it from RBG. 3 players command out over towards C long, as you would expect here. An almighty Hunter will be able to feast Hunter and gathering all the kills.
You liked it for a second, right? You like the potential for it, but then you realize what actual firepower is going behind these rounds for now. But
yeah.
Okay, really, we have like 2 minutes. We had like a solid 2-3 minutes to talk about like a to talk about like a 15-second round.
Welcome to Awesome Games Done Quick, guys.
Yeah, right. Oh my god.
I thought it had potential, you know? They had time to think about how they want to go about it.
You're right. It wasn't a bad setup by any means. I mean, purely because of that one take. I mean, they had Hunter in a pretty compromising position. Again, not exactly the best, but what's going on again? Mata? What? Rushing out over the long, and neither Hunter nor Pure looking towards that angle. Okay, they got pretty distracted by that recon bolt, it seemed, too, so... Huh.
It looks like they're playing anti-flash with something, and...
Something of the sort, but again, they have literally like 2-3 players behind them to try to take down their recon. You would like to think that the players on the front lines, they would be the ones to try to take on that first interaction over the long, if it just so happens to be that RBG gets antsy, which they have been. RBG have been incredibly aggressive thus far in this game, but seems like they've changed up their tempo, at least for the rest of this round. Really, at least evening up these sites. You do have the full Cypher setup over to A solo Brim hold over to B. You have a fast rotate position from both Sage and Sova going on over towards C. So I think at this point, this is just solid from RBG, and they're really just acting off of instincts for the rest of this round, as there's not a lot of time for the Pretty Boys to actually act with. It's 20 seconds left, and in comes the take on A.
And Xander, he just has everything that he needs. I mean, it's just as good as done. When he just can tag somebody with a tripwire like that, it's basically as good as yours, or is it?
Sure.
Excuse me, the Pretty Boys are making this a bit competitive.
You would like
Both are
to
low
think,
on
look at the HP. Oh my god, Anderson still wins that! He was down 21! Same thing with Penny!
I know, but he doubled back. I don't know.
Oh, man.
As soon as he looked away from the angle, I knew, oh, okay, no, Anderson wins these. I mean, look, come on, Upmind. You have to realize Anderson is one hell of a player. Like,
for sure.
I
for
can
sure.
count
We've
on
been
him winning with 21. These have been incredibly strange rounds from Pretty Boys. It's quite honestly one of the harder games that I've ever had to follow, just because of that fact alone. I mean, you're again seeing that double or that trade come through, and that's been one of the thriving fundamentals in tactical FPS games for a while now. And there you have it. There's another trade. There's a quad commit over towards mid. This time it's already working a little bit better for RBG, and finally I can actually agree with what's going on an eco round like this. And oh, we'd actually be correct to feel a bit confident in RBG pulling this one off here. But Pretty Boys showing that they're nothing to be messed with as Weefo through the cyber cage somehow manages to pick up a kill. As the retake begins, there is basically no ground for RBG to exactly, I guess, stand on. But, you know,
absolutely.
They have pistols,
and I mean,
they can just go ahead and try to look for something.
Yeah, and I like how I even mentioned earlier how you have ESEA Advanced Grand Finals coming up tomorrow, and there's really two representatives for this team specifically, for this Pretty Boys team playing up in that one. You have both Anderson and Pure, but okay, you still have Frex coming back. Xander's still alive. Taken down too. I think he's gonna survive. Oh, barely making it. Not making it out, but okay. Round for Pretty Boys. Economy is going to be in the favor of our boys PB for now. Don't really know what RBG is feeling like though. They dropped all of their rifles, and I think they were waiting for that last round specifically for a buy. I think they're still gonna have a rifle or two. Yeah, something of the sort. But again, it's 8-8. Not exactly a result that we expected coming out of the first half, but seems like the attacker side, it has been bountiful for both sides.
I mean, RBG, they're in probably one of the better positions that they could be. I mean, you have to keep in mind, that was a full eco, and they managed to find all 5 players towards the end of it, obviously picking up those rifles to get the job done. I wouldn't even say they're quite on even footing. I mean, I think this is a potential breaking point for RBG again. If they win this round confidently, Pretty Boys are going to be struggling to really put together a decent buy in the coming rounds. So another relatively important one to keep your eyes on. At the moment, though, slower from Pretty Boys once more. Seem to be favoring that A bomb site, however. Spike site. I don't know, whatever phrase you want to use for it. Well, he seems to be correct. And RBG, look how non-committal they're playing over towards A in particular. Finally, they have someone who's committed to the fight. But, I mean, even then, they're completely fine bringing rotators through. RBG, they have not stopped moving. That's the most interesting thing I've noticed. They keep on changing their setup here. Kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean,
there's that inevitable A commit.
Oh, okay. Xander's still around the corner, but he is going to get found out. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Big smoke from Brim. That's going to allow Xander to play around with it. Same thing with Hunter on site. Anderson going big once again. Trading out. You have Almighty Hunter with a Hunter's Fury laying around the back. Not exactly committing all too much. Spike still has to go down. There it is. Here comes the full rotate from RBG. It's going to be a 3-on-3. Oh no!
Still doesn't exactly have the legs to stand on. Oh Lord,
I
how
guess
is this
not,
going?
but now it's a 1-on-1. That Phoenix all being used. Hunter, his position is already found out. Spike is planted for him. Oh, that's huge. Oh, Hunter playing around the angle. He had the info, but just couldn't snag that last bullet. If I'm not mistaken, one of those bullets ended up hitting through the wall, so just a little bit of readjustment in terms of angs from Hunter would have done it for him, but instead, off of the heroics at the end, it's a 9-8 score line for RBG. They regained the lead.
The smallest margins matter in a game like this. Tactical FPSs, again, every, you know, you give them an inch, they'll take it a mile. RBG, I mean, I said that they need to win that round confidently if they want to, I guess, truly break the eco of Pretty Boys. But, you know, Pretty Boys did a fantastic job at actually holding the line. They got the spike down, plus, you know, 4 guns taken out of the hands of RBG. Suddenly, you know, it's not that bad of a situation. Pretty Boys are playing this a lot more competitive than, I'll be honest, I was expecting. RBG, I thought on paper we're going to be able to kind of steamroll this one. You know, it's an early matchup in the tournament. This is where crazy results are bound to happen, but I don't know, Upmind. I'm being proven wrong.
Well, I mean, really, both of these sides, they have almost exactly the same setup in terms of, you know, pure fragging power, experience. I mean, almost carbon copies. I mean, where are you going to get a team, almost a full team of Counter-Strike semi-professionals and just experienced players from CS in general, and you just have that one professional Fortnite fill? It's so coincidental that we get both of these teams in round one, and it adds to the storyline. It adds to the build going on towards the rest of this bracket. And again, RBG being a newer squad, really both of these squads being kind of built together, maybe out of necessity, but now here we go. Speaking of necessity, Penny has to hold down this site against this 1-on-3. And now Thwifo, he doesn't exactly commit with his teammates. That's going to be the spike down towards site. 30 seconds left for him to work with, however. This 1v3 is going to be tough, but his first challenge is already going to be Mata around the corner, and he wins that out. A huge swing round for Pretty Boyz if they had won it, but RBG, they're going to continue that momentum.
That was wonderful by RBG as well. You saw the orbital strike coming out in Garage, and really from there, the 2 or 3 players in Pretty Boyz, they all had to be on the same page for like a protocol to follow the deal with that orbital strike. 2 players ended up actually going out over towards C. It led to their demise. Penny was waiting right around the corner and just picked up a free 2-piece. Quite honestly, one of the freest kills that you'll be able to get. Pretty Boyz, it's just unfortunate. That's the sort of thing that gets fixed by chemistry, it feels like a lot of the time. And it's just incredibly played by RBG. You had to have like all people on paper ready to back out the other side of Garage, or at least be ready for the potential of someone being around the corner. Like, sometimes it's that single ultimate. It doesn't have to be used just to deny a bomb defuse. It can just be used to force yourself to take some ground, and it's a winning recipe. Pretty Boyz, yeah, okay, look, right back into this one. Apparently just aren't left to their own devices for more than a couple of seconds before they start doing some crazy antics. 5 versus 2, they get the spike down, but it's on pistols, which is exactly the reason I feel like I can't get exactly too excited. And, well, the inevitable result will come to fruition.
A perfect retake from RBG.
Feels like we've been kind of down this road a couple of times before at mine. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Off to a really promising start, and then okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's like deja vu. Really, I already mentioned this in the first half, but I feel like we're just following just the same formula for some of these rounds. But hopefully, Pretty Boyz can make it a little bit more entertaining now, because again, they won out the first 4 rounds in a row in this half. Now they have a big opportunity again to try to take things back into their own control, because their destiny isn't exactly set just yet. It's almost that same kind of momentum in a sense in terms of economy that we saw near the end of that first half. This second to last round being so pivotal, but Mata, what is he doing? He's just rushing on out, and that could have totally worked. Oh, that was ballsy, but he had the ult to work with, and if I'm not mistaken, he might have seen the spike. Huge from Mata in terms of info, and not only that, but the rest of RBG, they're not exactly too antsy on the rotation. They want to trust their teammates, they want to trust the holds. I say that, however, but you have the double swing over to Long. They want to clear that out. It's going to be Pure all on his lonesome. And now Tetra back with the trade. And now you still have the take from the attackers going over towards that C site after things get cleared. Here we go, it's a 1-on-5. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, now it's a 1-on-4. Anderson able to get that spike plant. And this is almost tragic for the Pretty Boyz.
Oh man, I honestly, I like the idea of that mid-round call from Pretty Boyz, however.
Oh, what?
This is so dangerous. I don't know about that, Anderson. I'll be honest. Okay, look, this is where I can backseat game, but
oh yeah,
look, I'm just a caster. I'm not the one competing in this tournament. Anderson is a better
hey, that's don't call it just a caster. We literally have a caster in this game.
This is true, but he's also incredibly good at the game. I can't exactly.
Yeah, probably the best commentator in Valorant. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, but I don't know. I understand why Anderson wanted to use his util early there, including the orbital strike. But I just really feel like, in theory, he could have tried to maybe work his way out over towards Long, set up that molly to guard the bomb. I mean, I've seen rounds won in a 1 versus 3, sometimes 1 versus 4 scenario, just by using and cycling that utility back when the bomb is getting defused. And maybe it doesn't feel like a missed opportunity, but I would want to see it happen, just to see, if Pretty Boyz can make anything out of it, if that could have been a more competitive round. But that's an orbital strike down the drain. And up against 12 rounds that RBG have, they're 1 away from taking this obviously, but
Right.
I mean, that orbital strike could have been pivotal.
Right, but RBG, they've also been relying pretty heavily on their ult. I mean, we saw in the last round, if I'm not mistaken, just an ult, the Sage ult that could have been used for yet another round, but
It's over.
It's all just over. Are you kidding
Jesus.
me? Huge ult from Retchie as he snags himself 4 frags over to mid. We just keep talking about semantics. We just keep talking about what could be the outcome, but we know the outcome. RB